gliding, wheel hiking through there. Look at the speed of this car. Has it got any horsepower? All the talk in the pits must be about this car and this man.
That wasn't an even playing field. That's a fact.
Richards now storming towards the leaders.
We thought we could win the race.
Shut the gate. It's an Aussie V8. The fans think this is fabulous.
We thought we could break them.
One of the cars has come into the pits there trailing smoke.
No one thought Holden had a chance. Everyone was talking about Sierras at that point in time.
If you looked on Sunday morning, you wouldn't have had your money on Grice and Percy to win that race.
It was just thunder, flat out, all day.
We were really up against it. It was tough times.
This is becoming a real grade A headache for Peter Brock.
They were fast, but they were fragile.
Gee whiz, that is bad luck.
That lost us the race, and no two ways about it.
He's away in 30 seconds.
We're a little bit concerned as to whether we can go to the finish on the fuel we've got.
It's the biggest challenge that I had ever taken on.
It really is going to be the very last lap.
Welcome to Shannons, Legends of Motorsport, celebrating Australia's love of touring car racing and the great race. And we're here among Bowden's private car collection, again on the Sunshine Coast. And today is a very special event. This year represents 25 years since the first Holden racing team victory at Bathurst, the Tooheys 1000 in 1990. Now, we've dug into the Seven Motorsport library. We've got some amazing pictures for you. We've also talked to many of the drivers who made a special contribution in that race, including, of course, the race winner, Win Percy, who now lives in Spain. Please welcome Aaron Noonan, ladies and gentlemen, our expert commentator.
Thanks, Billy. Thank you, everyone. Great to be here to tell the story of a great race. And at the time, we were in Group A, weren't we? International touring car racing, turbocharged race cars, Ford Sierras, Nissans, the GTR was on the horizon. So a lot of arguments about different types of cars and the like, but an amazing era of the sport.
What was the basis of Holden getting serious again?
Well, they formed the Holden racing team for that year, of course. That was to fill the void after Peter Brock had his now infamous divorce in 1987, and Tom Walkinshaw, the Scotsman who'd been driving the Jaguars before, filled that void. Of course, Holden Special Vehicles built some fantastic road cars, but in the early part they actually outsourced the motor racing program to Larry Perkins for a couple of years. But come 1990, they formed their own proper Holden racing team and brought Win Percy, the Englishman, out to run it, and as history shows, he became probably the most popular POM in the history of Australian motor racing.
Well, let's set it up. The 1990 Tooheys 1000, we've got Klaus Niedzwitz on pole in the Moffat Sierra. Dick Johnson's alongside him. We've got Brock and Seaton on row 2 and Bruce McAvaney in the commentary box.
Welcome to one of the big days of sport on Seven Sport, the great race in Australian motor racing, the Tooheys 1000 from Bathurst, and everything is set up for a fabulous day of motor racing. Well, there's no question you go to Bathurst and it's a different world. I loved it, actually, because it's the great race of motor racing, and it is different. I mean, the atmosphere, that passion for Holden and Falcon, I just hadn't felt it before. And, you know, the day before you go around the traps and you just get involved. So I absolutely lapped it up, so to speak. I loved it.
So you have it. Klaus Niedzwitz sits on pole position in the ANZ Sierra.
Klaus wasn't a real Swiss. He was more of a German than a Swiss. He'd come in and said, "Oh, Ellen, I'm almost there. I need another set of tires. If I just have one more set of tires, I know I can get pole." Okay, fine. Well, 5 sets later, he got pole.
And alongside of him is Dick Johnson, the man whose car won this race last year. Stand by Australia, stand by TV3 in New Zealand and the world. Australia's great race ready to explode from Mount Panorama, Bathurst, Sunday, September 30. And tripping the line almost was one of the pole cars getting away. Peter Brock, a magnificent start up on the outside. Just watch Brocky go, and Seaton will move into 3rd spot. Longhurst, a brilliant start. Johnson, a very, very poor start. And Klaus Niedzwitz is at least through the first turn. Look at the traffic, and they head up Mountain Straight for the first time.
1990 for me was probably the first genuine chance that I had to win the race. And although we weren't in the top 10, we knew the car speed was really good. I do remember thinking to myself, hey, if things go right here today, we might have a chance of knocking this race off. So at 23 years of age, pretty powerful moment.
Neatsvitz in front, Brock second, Seaton, then followed by Longhurst, then the second of the ANZ cars. George Fury, a great start, and Columbine just ahead of the two V8 Commodores. And Jim Richards already up there trying to pass some cars in the Nissan GTR.
In the day, the Sierras were virtually the quickest car in the straights. But of course, with the extra power and torque that they had from their engines, they had quite a narrow tyre on the car. But they were a great car.
This was made in heaven for Klaus Needsvitz, but poor Win Percy. I don't think he gave it enough revs at the start. The car bogged down and he almost got hit from behind.
Exactly, and Peter Brock was away very, very smartly.
This car could come good at the end.
With the dominance of the Nissans and also the Sierras, we were pretty much down the list in practice and qualifying, and nobody gave us a chance, including myself.
So an incident-free first lap, and as you said, Klaus Needsvitz at this stage of the race heading down to the right-hander at Caltex Chase, a comfortable lead over Peter Brock.
Win Percy insisted that I co-drive with him. Win and I had driven with each other in different cars and categories at different places, and we got on well. Walkinshaw didn't want me to drive. He wasn't fond of me.
Tom's chatting away, and I said I'd organised my co-driver. I said, Alan Grice. And I said, I think, although he's bloody cantankerous, I said, I think that he's the right man. On your ruddy head be it, he said, and slammed the phone down. So I thought, this is a good start. So I did tell Alan, but he wasn't amused and didn't really care anyway. Typical Alan.
Somebody up there is looking after Klaus Needsvitz at the moment. This is an enormous lead that he's built up already on the first lap, and really showing that the top 10 runoff that he just cleaned up really was no fluke.
Richards has been the fastest down Conrad also during the week at something like 290, so we can expect him on this second lap to really let it go down there and try and take somebody else, but it's been a great start for him.
One of Australia's leading commentators, Bruce McAvaney there, part of the 7 broadcasts for this event. And that brings us, Aaron, to the race lead-up.
You wouldn't have believed it, that the Holden Racing team nearly wiped themselves out in practice before the race even began. It was during practice, massive moment from Win Percy through the top of the mountain. The sister car right behind, lucky not to wipe them both out before they even got rolling on Sunday.
All the talk in the pits must be about this car and this man. Jimmy Richards and the Nissan GTR didn't have the best of luck during qualifying in the practice days, the lead up to this morning's race. At the moment though, Jim has spread-eagled the field.
We looked seriously at what the future of Nissan Motorsport was. The GTR it was the purpose-built toy. I mean, it was the best mousetrap. They did an unbelievable job.
You must have a lot of Sierra owners very, very worried the way you've attacked this race. The car feel good, Jim?
This little car feels unbelievable. It's a shame there's not more of them in the race.
I debuted the GTR at Malala that year. But by the time we got to Bathurst, it still wasn't very good. I mean, it was a really hard car to drive. I mean, it had no aero effect. So at the top of the hill, it was wild. I mean, to drive the car well, you had to really be on your game. And everyone said, oh, anyone could win in that car. Well, you know, I remember very clearly with Larry Perkins, in a very forceful way, saying, you come and have a drive of it then, superstar, and see how you go.
This is Shannons, Legends of Motorsport, the 1990 Tooheys 1000 of Bathurst, and that, of course, was the famous Nissan GTR, or Godzilla, revered and reviled in equal measure.
Impressive car, though, no matter which way you cut it up. And it had come on stream during 1990, and Mark Scaife was actually given the first race of that car at Malala, as many of our viewers might remember. It did break on that day, but the writing was on the wall. It was a rocket ship, and everyone knew that they were going to be in for a really tough time. Jim Richards took over the car, won the Touring Car Championship. They went to Bathurst actually with 2 cars. They only ever intended to race one of them, because in those days you were allowed a test car in the pre-race practice during the week. So they actually didn't qualify very well. A few little brake troubles. They qualified 11th, so they missed the top 10 runoff. But with Jim Richards behind the wheel in that first stint of the race, four-wheel drive, lots of horsepower, there was no way they're going to be staying 11th for very long.
Well, let's rejoin the great race now. Shannons, Legends of Motorsport.
So Jim Richards on the move.
We're having major problems, locking brakes, chattering, all sorts. But it just so happened that when the race came along, the guys had actually got up to the stage where it was absolutely perfect. And to drive it, I had the start of the race, and we started off, and I just passed cars until we had about a 25, 30-second lead at one time, I think.
Freddie Gibson's done a tremendous job with this car, and they've brought the boss of Nismo in Japan over, Mr. Hioki, to come and have a look at it. He's amazed by it. He's up another spot already. Its strong point was it came out of the corners extra quick. So if you gained 4 or 5k out of a corner, you kept it all the way down the straight.
Johnson out on the ribble strip. It's Richards now grabbing another gear. Let's have a look at the horsepower. Has it got any horsepower? 600 brake, they claim, and Johnson gets the blow-by from Jimmy Richards. Richards now storming towards the leaders.
Even with the excess weight or the weight extras that they put on, it still went like a rocket.
Now we'll have a look at the brakes of the Nissan. Not much of a problem really here. It's only early days. So Jimmy Richards, a great drive from position number 11.
Richo, and we laugh, because he's a bit like Brock. Everyone says, oh, wasn't he a great driver? And man, was he hard on stuff. I mean, it was just how it is. I mean, Richo and Brock, they just smashed everything. So Jim scorched the brakes off it, and then we basically had to battle all day to get home.
Is getting fairly close at the front of the field. Klaus Niedzwitz, Jimmy Richards, Peter Brock. That's the order. Here we go now. Pulls to the inside and Klaus moves over. They are side by side and Jim actually gives him the goodbye.
The performance of the Nissan GT-R, Aaron, was quite extraordinary.
Impressive in all aspects. Four-wheel drive, four-wheel steer, twin turbo, 635 odd horsepower, depending on which day of the week it was. It was just a car that blew people away straight away. On paper, it looked fast before it even hit the racetrack. They did massive amounts of testing, no restrictions back in those days. And I guess that car was kind of the catalyst for us going back to the V8s in the years that followed, because it was quite dominant. They built 5 of them, and 4 live on to this very day. And at the time they were loathed, but they are certainly loved 20 years later.
Niedzwitz is not letting Jim Richards get away and tries to get around the outside there as they come over Nissan Skyline. That's not the place to do it, is it, Mike?
Definitely not. I think Alan Moffat will be having heart palpitations at this moment. Locking up a brake there, Richards, this time. Now we'll compare the speed. They've got an open racetrack in front of them, I believe, on Conrod Straight.
I just wonder if that lock brake may possibly be a sign of the brake problems that they suffered in practice.
Oh, in the pits, Peter Brock, 0.5. Timo already down there. Not surely the same.
This can't be happening 2 years running.
Look, it was very difficult that Peter had the big fallout with Holden. He was more or less pushed into a corner. Well, I've got to go and race something else. The BMWs was a stopgap thing. It's a shame we even had to race them because they were never going to be competitive. But Sierras had already turned up on the scene and we're just man-eaters. Look, at the end of the day, to be competitive racers, as we knew Brock was, we all were, we had to find a competitive car. So the decision was made, we've got to go and get Ford Sierras. End of story. We were really up against it. It was tough times, really tough times.
Peter Brock takes it all philosophically, and he is back in the race again.
You're watching Shannons, Legends of Motorsport. Welcome back. Peter Brock in the mobile Ford Sierra, Bathurst 1990. I know it was 1990, but even to this day, it's hard to reconcile those words.
Yeah, I don't think the Ford fans could understand it either. Of course, Brock had busted up with Holden, spent a year driving the little BMWs, and then just had to get into a car that was capable of winning races, and that was the Sierra. Although, interestingly, he didn't run the Ford badge on the front of those Sierras. At the time, there was a business called Oztech, which were looking at building Ford special vehicles, trying to replicate what they'd done previously with Holdens, and it was a really interesting time for where Brock was at with his motor racing. He was still quite competitive in those cars and won some races here and there along the way, but they were certainly the car to have, and Brock spent 2 seasons driving the turbocharged Sierras.
As we have yet another pit stop for the Peter Brock Mobil 1 team.
No prizes for guessing it, Mike. More tyre problems for Brock. They've only been 12 laps this set of tyres. They're doing the driver change as well now. Andy Rouse going in. But this is becoming a real grade A headache for Peter Brock. If he's got to keep doing tyres every 12 laps, he can forget about it. And as you say, tyres becoming a real factor in this race. And Seaton just sitting there patiently waiting to see if this compound's going to be any better for him. You see him shaking his head. Something's gone wrong.
Andrew Medecky's car, the second Brock machine in the pits.
It's more confirmation by the looks of things that the Bridgestone tyres just don't seem to be working on the Brockmobiles.
This must be a major disappointment for Bridgestone. They did the tyre test day up here to get the compounds right, and all sorts of things going wrong here. We've had Brock's car and Medecky's car in very early on.
I just hope they've all brought enough tyres. The rate of the pit stops are going to consume some in 161 laps.
Now, listening to the call, interesting to note tyres played such a big part in this story.
Yeah, pretty much the opportunity was that every team could have their own manufacturer of tyre rather than today where everyone has to have the same. So, I mean, you look back, Dunlop were looking after Dick Johnson and the Holden Racing team, and Alan Moffat and Larry Perkins. Yokohama were with Nissan and Longhurst and Seaton, and, of course, Peter Brock was a long-time Bridgestone man. And in those days, you could run whatever you liked rather than be stuck. So the interesting part that year was they'd resurfaced the circuit since the previous year. So the teams had the chance to do a media test day some months before, but from there they had to lock in what tyres they were going to choose for a few months later, and for some of them they got it right and for some of them they got it wrong.
Well, let's rejoin the Tooheys 1000 from 1990.
With Percy in the Holden Racing Team Commodore, made his way past Glenn Seaton, and Winston really flying.
We came off the back of HDT, of course, and to me that was a fantastic brand and working very well. But it also had the opportunity to be polished up and taken to another level. Getting that brand built and perhaps exceeding anything that HDT did was important to me.
Mark Scaife in the Nissan number 1 car, leading by about a second over Alan Grice, about 4.9 seconds then back.
We did have a fast car. Like Grice, he was not stressed. He was like, this car's really good. This is a fast car. We can race these blokes. We just drive it flat out. And I'm like, Alan, they got like 5 seconds on us. He's like, no, they can't do it all day. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, you know, I believe they can't do it all day, but when you get here, the stark reality is Dick's rushing around doing a 12.3 and we're rushing around doing a 17.5. Like I've come from Formula Ford where 2.10, you might as well go home.
I do recall hunting down, and I didn't think we'd be in a position to do that, so it had to be wounded, but hunting down Scaife. He still had the power up and down the mountain, plenty of power, a lot more than us. But we were better under brakes, we were better through the corner, and we were just hard, we were just going hard. And it was very enjoyable.
Shut the gate, it's an Aussie V8. The Holden fans on top of the mountain.
I didn't want to let Alan Grice or Win Percy go by. And Fred was yelling at me on the radio, slow down, you know. It was one of those ones with the radio. I said a bit of squelch, a bit of drama going on in the radio land, which wasn't real, it was just me not listening. And in the end I had to slow down.
You're able to see the way the Nissan could just run away from the Commodore, and Grice is making a lot of this up through just sheer driving ability.
We were all over them across the top of the mountain, etc., and they'd still pull away down each of the straights, but the car was good enough under brakes, and I think they probably nursing brakes a bit as well.
The race leader, Mark Scaife, in the Nissan number 1 car.
You can see the ground now that Grice is pulled on the Nissan. Right up onto the tail of it again.
Great shots here, Greg, too, from our Dunlop race cam, right in the front bumper of the Holden Commodore.
I remember in the end I let him go at Forest Elbow, and I did move wide and let him by, and then I just put the white flag up because at that stage the car wasn't going to finish.
Yeah, 620 horsepower.
Well, what's happened here?
He's pulled wide there as they went into Forest Elbow. Now, if there's no problem with the car, he'll just shoot straight past again down the straight.
And then interestingly, you could hear the commentators saying, now this is where the Nissan's going to show its pace and just blast by the Commodore again. And to our amazement and joy, it didn't. And then all of a sudden you could hear clackety, clackety, clack, and the transmission had given up the ghost.
Hello, they've got the Nissan's got a problem. Richard's slowing on Conrod. There's smoke billowing from the back of the car. And just when we were saying what a fantastic run it was having, look at this.
It's wonderful having a Batmobile, or whatever you want to call it, Godzilla, with everything going for it. But sometimes the technology can be against it. And I think in that case it was.
Problems for the number 20 car. It is very, very warm. The second of the B&H Sierras.
1990 race for us started badly, I must admit.
Big drama for Colin Bond here. Memories, in fact, of Klaus Niedzwitz a couple of years ago when he blew a head gasket, and it looks very much like the Colin Bond car may have done the same thing.
I think we lasted about 50 laps from memory. Bang, you know, it was just another hand grenade about to go off.
Glenn, there's a lot of problems with the car. That was a terribly long pit stop. What's gone wrong?
It's got a problem with the clutch. The clutch is slipping all the way up the back straight and down the front straight. So we don't really know what's wrong with it, but that's the way it goes.
Oh, that is not the place you park at Mount Panorama, let me tell you.
Another clutch in the other car, so really I don't know what's going on with the clutches.
The 25 car is in the pits and it looks like we have some problems.
Oh no, push it away quickly.
Sure I blew it up or something. We used to just keep cranking the boost up and had a lot of engine reliability problems, you know, blowing head gaskets, melting pistons. They were a very fast car, but unreliable. You know, you had to have everything right to keep them together. But I didn't win it, so who cares?
Welcome back. Shannons Legends of Motorsport here at Bowden's own car collection on the Sunshine Coast. And it's 25 years since the Holden Racing team had its first Bathurst victory. But looking down the entry list and just observing the race, it seemed like there was an army of Sierras out there.
Everybody had one, didn't they? It was quite unbelievable. All the big names had gone for the turbo Ford cars. I mean, there were two-car teams from Alan Moffat, Peter Brock, Glenn Seaton, Dick Johnson, Tony Longhurst. They dominated so much that when you looked at the top 20 of the grid, 15 of them were Sierras, and as the race progressed, they all started to fail in one way, shape or form as that pace that was set by the Nissan really started to break them down.
Now, this collection around us contains so many incredible cars. Mark Osler now has a Shannons classic car, and it's a very special Moffat car.
Yes, thanks, Billy. This is the Ford Cosworth Sierra RS500 that Klaus Niedzwitz, the German ace, put on pole position for the 1990 Bathurst 1000. Now, this car was one of two cars owned by Alan Moffat Racing, and they were both built by Rudi Eggenberger, the Swiss tuning ace who was responsible for building a lot of the factory Fords during that era. Seriously quick car. Moffat really liked Rudi Eggenberger's craftsmanship because he felt it reflected the same standard of engineering zeal and expertise that he saw in his legendary Trans Am Mustang, which of course was built by the Carcraft crew about two decades before. What made this car so special? The RS500 was an absolute rocket, and like any successful race cars, the secret was its power-to-weight ratio. The Sierra wasn't a very big car. It had a narrow track, short wheelbase, but under the bonnet was a 2-litre twin-cam 4-cylinder engine developed by Cosworth with a huge Garrett turbocharger hanging off the side of it. It was capable of producing 600 brake horsepower in qualifying trim. Now, keep in mind, this car was only rear-wheel drive, so with that amount of grunt, the drivers had to be very, very careful on the throttle because you could destroy a set of rear tyres in only a few laps if you weren't careful. Incredibly fast car. And you know what happened to it in the race? Because these cars were quite fragile, this one had to stop for a number of laps to have the differential changed, which meant it dropped right down the order. But they weren't alone. A number of the Sierras were quite brittle in that race as they were wore down by the intense pressure placed on them by the winning V8 Commodore.
I think going back to the V8s, I think the V8s proved that at Bathurst, you know, with Larry Perkins and a couple of the others, that you just kept on trucking around all day and all the other cars just fell by the wayside and you won the race.
That gap still 14 to 14 and a half seconds.
We raced Sierras and stuff all year, and you're racing blokes with another 150 horsepower and 200 kilos less. It's pretty hard. But what we did was we made a car you could drive flat out all day. We put enough cooling in it, we put enough brake ducting in it, and we also took a bit of a punt on some brake pads. And nobody was running performance friction pads in those days. I did a lot of work to make sure that I could drive the thing flat out, and that's what we did.
Keeping the pressure on. Win Percy, car number 16. Don't discount the Holdens here today.
We knew that we didn't have the pace of the turbocharged cars, so we had to have a car that could be driven absolutely flat out, a car that could brake in a safe straight line at the very last split second and not have to start thinking about backing off of worn pads and everything, you know. And they were amazing brakes on the thing. We had a bulletproof car.
Every time we'd come home, we'd pull it apart and see which bits were dying, which weren't. Which weren't, we'd lighten them, which were, we'd fatten them up. So by the time we got to Bathurst, we were pretty confident we could drive the thing flat out all day. That was the only way to race them, to make them go. Like Sierras could go much faster, but nobody had worked on a Sierra to make it go flat out all day. And possibly you couldn't do that. You know, with the amount of boost, maybe they couldn't do it, no matter whether they wanted to or not.
We thought we could win the race. We thought that we could break the turbo, and you're just looking at lap speed, we had no chance. But we thought we could break them. And the car was built with doing 2,000 kilometres in mind.
So many great stories coming out of the 1990 Tooheys 1000, Darren. A career first and last.
Yeah, an interesting period. Kevin Bartlett, the 1974 race winner, who had done so much in his career. That race was his final Bathurst 1000. And the great irony was he was driving for the GIO Bob Forbes Privateer Commodore team, and his teammate was having his first Bathurst, a bloke called Russell Ingle, who at the time was the Formula 4 champ. So as one arrives, one departs, and a very interesting period of Kevin Bartlett, who was a legend of the mountain.
Well, let's rejoin the great race on Shannons Legends of Motorsport.
The drivers are working lap 114 of 161. Let's go now to John Brady in the pits, and some problems there for the GIO Commodores.
Just, Mike, I'll be with you in 1 second. Kevin's just having a bit of trouble here. He's not at all well. He just dropped to his knees mid-conversation.
We had a bad circumstance in that car where a heater had been left on after an overnight radiator change, and we were baking. It was well and truly in the 60 degree, 70 degree area in that car. I suffered, Russell suffered. Post that race, I had my heart attack, and it was brought on by the fact that I'd boiled inside. It was Russell's first, my last.
Car that was running second on the road, the number 10 ANZ Sierra with Frankie Biela at the wheel, is in the pits, and there are a lot of long faces down there, John Brady.
They are looking under the back of the car, but no one's moving with a great deal of hurry at the moment. It looks like there's a fairly large problem with it.
This is a tragedy for Alan Moffat. The guy just cannot take a trick. He's been trying to win this race since 1977. It's become his obsession over the years, and once again we're having some mechanical problems. You really have to feel for the guy, whether you're a fan or not. He gives it 100%.
This is Shannon's Legends of Motorsport, looking back at Australian motorsport history with great help from that magnificent 7 Motorsport library. We're at the 1990 Tooheys 1000 at Bathurst, and a pretty funny story involving Dick Johnson, Aaron.
Well, later in the race, Billy, all the Sierras had dropped like flies, and the only one that had really stood strong was Dick Johnson's second car with Jeff Allen, the Englishman, and Paul Radisich, the New Zealander, driving. And in those days, you could cross-enter your drivers between all your team cars. So at the last pit stop, Dick Johnson wanted to get in to challenge for the win. Problem was, his backside was a little bit too big. They couldn't move the seat, and he couldn't get in. So Radisich had to jump in for the run to the line. And I did speak to one of DJR's mechanics from the day, and they reckon had we put John Bow in, they might have been a shot.
Wow. Well, let's continue our journey. The 1990 Tooheys 1000.
We were the second car, so we sort of got forgotten about, which was kind of nice. You know, we run the low boost. We were just there to really keep the car running around for if and when Dick had a problem. And as it turned out, he did.
One of the cars has come into the pits there trailing smoke, and I was about to say the 17 car has dropped back, and that is Johnson's car.
Yeah, that looks like the turbo's finally cried enough. That white smoke is always a bad indication, dearie me. That looks like the turbo has had it for the day.
We were leading the race. You know, in the last stop there, Jeff came in and I was going to finish the race off, and we had about a 14 or 15 second lead at that point.
Here comes the 18 car.
Jeff Allen coming into the pits. Who is going to take over? It will be Johnson.
And Dick tried to get in the car, which was fine. That was the deal. And in some ways, you know, if he had have got in the car, I believe we would have won the race.
The seat wouldn't move.
You know, he jumped in and he rocked it and did everything he could to get in. And then, of course, he said, "Quick, get the little so-and-so in." So they threw me in and I went out.
JB and I were probably obviously quicker than the second car, and I think it's terribly unfair, really. It's something we shouldn't have done, but we tried to get in but couldn't get in, so we end up second. But second at Bathurst, mate, is still a great achievement.
While all that drama's been happening, this man has been making up places like you wouldn't believe.
Well, of course, those pit stops have given Larry Perkins just the break that he needed. The computer lap score shows Larry has now taken the lead away from the 18 car because of that pit stop. And, of course, Alan Grice back in third spot.
It seems every year Larry Perkins just raised the bar. He always lifted his game for Bathurst, and I'm not just talking about driving either.
He built everything during the season around what happened in October, and in 1990 he was a privateer again. He'd been running the factory cars in the previous years for HSV and TWR. He grabbed Thomas Mazira as his co-driver, and they were right in the mix in 1990, but in those days there were actually two safety cars that ran around the circuit, and they found themselves at one point of the race a real contender, but trapped in the pit lane waiting for the other safety car to come around, and it could just have been another race that got away from Larry Perkins.
Larry Perkins, as you can see, very tense. Larry tried to approach him for a word a little earlier, but he really is under a lot of pressure at the moment. This stop is just so critical for them.
The safety car came out, and I was leading at that stage. We had those days two safety cars. One came at the bottom, one came at the top. We had no radios, and the only communication was over the pit wall. Like, Larry didn't believe in radios those days, and I didn't know what to do.
And in comes Mazira. This is a critical stop.
Two Holdens head into the pits. And Thomas Mazira coming in the number 11 car. Watch this for quick pit action. And the 18 car in as well. They're all in.
Came in and it did a fantastic stop. Like, you had to change pads as well, and everything, you know, as always with Larry was, you know, ran perfect.
This stop, as we've said, so critical for the race leader, running 15 seconds at the moment. He's got to do the oil, he's got to do a changeover for Larry Perkins in the driver's seat, and of course the longest part of it all is going to be changing the brake calipers. So far everything seems to be going according to plan. The pit stop going at 40 seconds, the engine started 42. This is a great pit stop for a full change, and they're getting the wheel nuts up now. 47, 48. Perkins really will be happy with this. 50 and 52 seconds.
Gee, really great pit stop.
Larry took off, and the safety car, the first line of the safety car, just about going is through the turn one.
I think you'll find that he maybe has missed the cue, has he?
Larry gets to pit exit, and they pull the gate. They pull the rope across the gate.
Gee whiz, that is bad luck.
That lost us the race, and no two ways about it, because I still believe we would have won the race.
We're a little bit concerned as to whether we can go to the finish on the fuel we've got. It really is going to be the very last lap.
The logic was that it would just get there. I mean, just. When he was, we need to come in to put some in, I'm like, we're in the lead. We ain't going to come in anywhere. Like, I'm going to run out in the front. I'm not going to come in here and give up.
It's when Percy said fuel is going to be critical.
We were preparing for Grice to come in for a quick churn of fuel. Well, we weren't pretending. We really weren't.
The guys here are a little bit worried that he may have to come in. We won't know for a few laps. It's just going to be so close. But, I mean, Alan will be on the mountain or somewhere around the circuit. It gives one cough, he'll have to come in.
Gee, that is close, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we had a pace car situation, And we knew that we'd saved quite a bit of fuel in that situation. So could he do it or could he not?
Conditions in which Alan Grice revels, just loves this sort of tight, hard racing. He's got to worry about the weather, he's got to worry about the car, he's got to worry about fuel, and he's only got a few laps which to do it all.
Welcome back to Shannon's Legends of Motorsport. We're now at the closing stages of a nail-biting finish.
We've pretty much got 3 cars left in the fight. Alan Grice leading the way for the Holden Racing team. But there's a question. Have they got enough juice to get to the end of the race? Paul Radisich chasing in the Shell Sierra, and Larry Perkins is the third man on the lead lap as they fight for the win in the Tooheys 1000.
Let's follow them home. Alan Grice on his way to a second Bathurst win. Win Percy on his way to a first.
10 laps to go for Alan Grice.
The last stint that I did, we genuinely thought we were very, very short on fuel. And I cut the revs back, cut down the gear changes. I didn't come down right through the box. I just go into the corner in 4th or 5th or whatever and then put it into the appropriate gear, probably second to come out.
Gricey, can you bring it home from here?
Yeah, I think so, Mike. Car's very good. Just got a snick on 3rd gear. But the car's very good, so it's looking good.
What a return, eh, mate?
Yeah, that's a certainty.
Well, when he crossed the mountain with a lap and a half to go and he hadn't gone on to the reserve, we knew we'd done it. But to that point, we really didn't know. So that's how close it was. The hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life was radio to Grice at the prior to the last pit stop and say, if you'd like to, you can complete the race, you can finish the race. And although I would have done and could have done the last stint, happily, I wanted to know, in my heart, the strongest driver, because we suddenly stood a chance of winning this race. That was the hardest thing, to give up that chance of finishing a race. But that was my manager's hat, and it was the right thing to do. I don't regret it, but it still hurts. I'd love to have taken the flag.
For an old guy, you're doing pretty well, mate. I tell you what, this team manager's job's worse than ever driving a motor car. Keep it up, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Okay, man.
The funny thing was, if you remember the last lap and the camera shots talking to Channel 7, was the fact that Alan nearly lost it on oil coming across the mountain. And he apologised. He was waving out to the crowd out the window and had a bit of a fright.
Fans on top of the mountain, here he comes.
Mate, they love the Commodores.
Oh, look at them, you've made their day.
Somebody's put oil all over the road there. I only just saw it. I was a bit busy looking at the crowd.
So it's not over till it's over. It wasn't till he came round the corner and across the start line that I actually truly believed it.
Under the bridge, coming down to the final corner. Checkered flag time. Crowd absolutely berserk. Last turn, checkered flag. How does it feel? Tooheys champ, Alan Grice.
It's the best feeling I've had since 1986, I'm going to tell you.
Well done, son. You've driven superbly.
Thanks, mate.
Well, there's marvellous scenes down here in the pits. Win Percy, Chris is there, Roseberry. Team managers, I think all the Holden people are delighted as well.
We always thought we were a chance if we could just, if we could punish the car all day, and we truthfully set out to punish the car all day. We used the last braking marker every time, all day. We used 7.6, you know, in that sort of engine in that era there was a lot of revs, but they built the engine to do that. I think the pace of the race, the pace we showed all day, we were the right car won.
It was a dream finish, I mean it really was. I mean I was stupid enough to jump the wall and, you know, applaud him as he crossed the line. The emotions were just amazing, you know, I mean, it had been such a year of highs and lows, but that put the icing on the cake, that result.
That was a terrific victory because no one thought a Commodore would win.
with the GTR and Sierras and everything there. It was a massive field, and the last person, or last team you would have put your money on probably was the Holden of HRT at the time, but it came through and prevailed.
The biggest challenge for me, I think almost in my whole broadcasting career, is to host the presentation of Bathurst. It is the scariest moment. You are standing up there. It is a frightening experience. So talk about challenge. That, for me, was just about the ultimate.
I think we're just about ready for Win Percy and Alan Grice to the winning team, the Holden team of Percy and Grice.
Well, I can't quite believe it. It's pretty good for a whole new team. But when I asked Alan to drive, I really did know that I was taking the best Australian driver here at Bathurst. So between us, we've done it. I'm really proud of it.
We drove back down through the city, and they were all doing the Mexican wave and kneeling on the ground and all, and those were so, when this is spooky. And it was, but they are just so passionate over there, you know, I mean, the way they treated us.
Well, it might have been a surprise to some, but it was a big, big result for Holden fans and for the Holden racing team. They were on the precipice here of a brilliant era.
It was a very, very popular win, and the first of many, in fact, the Holden racing team with over 200 wins that would follow. Just want to take a moment to have a look back at that race-winning car, which some might not believe actually did race at Bathurst a couple of years before. It was the Tom Walkinshaw car in 1988. It only lasted a few laps before the rear end collapsed, and Win Percy and the Holden racing team actually put it together during the 1990 season, and it came back to the mountain to win in 1990, and it's still owned by the Holden racing team because it's a very special car. What an amazing race. I mean, Commodore, Sierra, Commodore on the podium. Peter Brock got home in position 4, and it was a fabulous day that really did give the sport a really big boost. And Win Percy played a big part of that. I just want to show you this here. Win's put together his thoughts from his career, including his great period with the Holden racing team, so you can go online and grab a copy of his fantastic book.
Well, speaking of online, time to talk about the Shannons Club, because that's where you'll find it. It's easy. Join today. It's also free, of course. Create your own virtual garage, discuss favourite topics on the forums. You can enter the latest competitions, find a car club or an event, watch catch-up episodes of Shannons Legends of Motorsport from last year or this year. It's all part of the Shannons Club TV experience. And just a reminder too, the first series of Shannons Legends of Motorsport is now out on DVD. Thank you to Aaron Noonan.
Pleasure, Billy. Thanks for having me.
And thanks, of course, to Mark Oster presenting another Shannons classic car. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Shannons Legends of Motorsport.
How do you feel about the 1,000 clicks around the old hot mix, Bathurst town?
Bathurst is always the pinnacle. Bathurst is not just a motor race, it's an Australian sporting tradition.
It is the great car race of Australia.
There's some happy boys and sick heads up here.
Got time to get them away?
Oh, they do that. I don't know if this thing really needs to go in for service.
I tell you to give Win Percy cardiac arrest if you pull into the pits and then keep going.
No, I don't think they'll put it in for service.